Here we go.
There we go.
Hey everyone out there. For the pleasure of those viewing in the future, I present Granny and Poppy. Now, just for your general reference, the current date is July 2nd, 2005 at about 2:45 p.m. And just so you viewing in the future can benchmark what was going on at this time, there were recent presidential elections in Iran, and many of our country's leaders are worried about what's going to happen, whether or not it's going to work out, because he's a hardliner named Ahmadinejad. What else has been happening recently in the news?
Italy and Spain have voted for gays to be married.
That's right, the gay marriage debate is raging pretty intensely in this country. Granny, can you think of anything?
I think she's happy that we're both above ground at this moment.
Okay, now this is something I really should know. How old are you, Poppy?
Is this being taken for posterity?
Yes, that's correct.
89 and 1/2 years old.
And you, Granny? How old are you?
All I can say, this has been the hottest summer we've had in a long time, and I'm suffering from it.
It beats shoveling snow, that's all I can say.
It sure does. But Granny, how old are you?
83.
That's 4-score-and-3.
Wow. And I am 20, just turned 20 this past month.
We are very fortunate that we picked up good genes.
Longevity runs in the family, right?
Right with Eversharp.
Okay. And now, just for
Posterity?
posterity, yes, and further benchmarking the times, what are, recent events that have happened in your lives? Poppy?
Tempus fugit. Time flies. Where did all the years go? Oh, well.
Say that again. How many years?
You want to know? I've escaped 4 wars in my 4-score-and-9 years. So I'm very thankful for that. And my family. I feel sorry for others, but we were very fortunate in that respect.
Wow. And what's new with you recently?
I found that I've had too many birthdays. It is very difficult to do what I used to do. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you enjoy doing these days?
The best time of my day is sitting at the breakfast table with my coffee, toast, and my newspaper.
Ah, okay. All right, Granny, how about you?
That's if I get the butter out for him before he gets up.
All right, but, okay. Besides getting butter for Poppy, what's the favorite part of your day?
I'm afraid she doesn't have any at this point in time. She's ailing.
Well, what do you like to read, Granny?
When I get around to the newspaper, that's what I read.
Okay.
It took her 3 hours to read the second section of the Democrat this morning. She was at the table at 9 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, she was still at the breakfast table with the second section of the paper.
Wow. What television do you watch?
Oh, wait, the price, no, what's that?
The Price is Right.
The wagon wheel there. The Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune, okay.
And the subsequent program,
Jeopardy?
Jeopardy.
Okay.
And then she goes into the spare room and says her novenas.
Ah, okay. You pray every night?
Yes, I do.
Me too.
I spend at least an hour every day.
An hour every day of prayer.
I
Been very
spend
devout.
I spend a couple hours almost every day at the Irondequoit Ridge Culver Library, and I read USA Today, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal.
Wow. Okay.
I'm addicted to that regimen.
And you're always telling me to take it too.
I,
Not that it,
I've always said a household with no newspaper is an ignorant household.
makes sense to me. And I think it's a good idea for me to be taking that advice. Okay. So then, I guess I'll benchmark myself. I recently started a co-op job, to make headway on my degree at RIT in marketing. I started at Complimar Partners, a packaging and fulfillment company on Lee Road between Lexington and Lyle Avenue, just off 390. And for them, I do sales and marketing assistance. Once again, this time is July 2005.
And we are very happy to find that you are able to do what you are doing to increase your knowledge of in the subject that's going to probably be your lifetime work. And hope you're happy at it.
Thanks, Poppy.
Well,
Appreciate it.
I'm concerned about all my grandchildren. And the four of you. There are four of you.
We've been very fortunate.
And we take pleasure when you visit with us. And
as you know, we are very proud of your cousin, who is now a doctor at the New England Medical Center of Tufts University in Boston, Massachusetts.
That's right, Faye Elizabeth.
That's correct.
And that's a piece of major
right
news.
now, Uncle Pepe and Pat are in New York City with Pepe's brother, his family, his two paternal cousins, and friends of Fernando, his brother. They will be back here Thursday. Friday morning, they are taking the ferry to Toronto.
Ah, the fast ferry, which is
right.
restarting for the second time after that false start with cats.
On June 30th.
We have yet to see if it's actually going to succeed. We don't have the perspective of time that you, the viewer, have. But we hope it works. Anything to improve the economy of Rochester. So we'll see what happens with that.
Right.
Okay. And Lauren just graduated.
That's right. We are looking forward for Lauren's tenure at Alfred State, and we hope that she is happy there and completes what her desire is at the school.
Okay. Now, Granny, did you want to say something? No? Okay.
I think that just about everything has been said.
All right. Now, let me ask you something. In the remote chance you don't get the chance to meet your great-grandchildren, is there anything else you'd like them to know about you?
Well, that we did our best with all you people and hope that they, in turn, can carry on in the manner in which you were brought up and be able to accomplish the very things that you, your sister, and your cousins have been able to do. It would make us proud of that fact. Life is not easy at the moment. Things are unjusted, but we hope you fare well.
How about some of those words to the wise you have?
Well, the words of the wise are sufficient.
Like we don't live the way we want to.
That's right. We don't live the way we want to. We live the way we have to.
And Poppy would tell me that all the time.
Right with Eversharp.
That and you won't be 13 forever.
Yes, you won't be 13 forever, and I hope I didn't send you to college to become stupid.
Boy, was he ever right. Things have just been flying by.
And never put yourself in harm's way if it's humanly possible. Watch what you do, watch what you say. For every action, there's a reaction.
Mm.
You must be proud of your family name and your family and never bring disgrace to your household.
And Granny, how about you?
Concerned about you traveling, and when you're driving, I hope you don't have too many passengers to be responsible for, and I hope that you are a safe driver.
Okay. All right. Concern transcends birth. Even though you may not be born yet.
You know, you're our only one grandson, and we want to keep you around for a long time.
You are our favorite grandson. We're depending on you to carry on the Anthony P. Adams and Theresa H. Adams lineage.
Well, bear in mind, guys, that it's not just me who's going to be watching this. It's your great-grandchildren.
Oh,
who
well,
may
we'll
not
be
have-
optimistic in that direction at the moment and hope that you will be able to carry on in the lineage at which we've survived and tried to do for our family. Our parents didn't have too much. That is your great parents, but they struggled. They were honest. They were clean, and they encouraged us to do the best we could. And we try to pick up many of the good thoughts that they had.
Okay. So life in Rochester, New York has been pretty good overall.
Well, in our day, we didn't have much money, or what would you call worldly things. We were happy because we didn't know any better. Everybody was in the same boat. It seemed we had a Great Depression, which we survived, and it seems like God helps those who help themselves, and too bad for the hindmost.
Mm.
You've got to pick yourself up and go forward. You can't depend on anybody else. When we married, the first thing I told grandmother was, it's you and me against the world. And that's the way it's been. And in our early years, there were no wants. There were only needs. Do you need this? Or your father would say, I'd like a bicycle. Or your aunt would say, I want a bicycle. No wants. Just needs. If you need shoes, we had no money to spare. Of course, at this point in time, we have been a little more successful, and we are able to be a little more generous.
Okay.
But that's the thing while you're growing, and never buy or purchase anything that you can't pay for. And do not buy on a if-come situation.
Oh.
Today, especially, things are very precarious. They are not like our times where you got a position or job and you could bank on it till you retired. It seems that there's no such animal.
Tell me about it.
What's good today may not be good tomorrow. And there's always somebody better that can come along, or something better. Like Kodak, I always said if someone came up in Keokuk, Iowa, with a method of making film without silver nitrate, that would be the end of Kodak. And I'm very sorry to say the time has come at this day.
Yes, the Kodak was a little slow to move into the digital market, didn't it? All right, let's tie you into history a bit. Any stories from during the Depression?
I can't.
Well, everybody thought that the minds of people were decaying, but little did they know that many of the people didn't sleep nights thinking up methods and ways to get by. In some places, coal was delivered to people under the welfare system, and at night they were selling it by the bushel.
Wow. Don't teach that in your history books, do they?
That's right.
Okay. And
Living was difficult, and as a matter of fact, if it wasn't for World War II, I don't know what would have happened. And it enabled everybody to gain a few dollars with the inflationary process, and there were jobs to be had. But otherwise, I could see no way of getting out of the depression. It was very depressing, as a matter of fact, and points. There was no money. No one slept with their doors locked. You couldn't mug anybody because nobody had anything. Today, you can't walk down the street.
And how did you make a living when you were young?
Well, I myself caddied at Oak Hill Country Club for 65 cents a day whenever I could do it. And whenever players came out to play, and I would walk 7 miles home some nights at 10 o'clock. But that's the way it was. My time meant nothing, so I tried to scrape whatever I could.
And how old were you when you did this?
Well, I started when I was 12 years old,
What year had you been born?
1915.
1915.
I started at Oak Hill Country Club the year after it was conceived. They had moved from the they traded land with the University of Rochester, and the location where the University of Rochester now stands by the river was formerly the Oak Hill Country Club.
Wow.
Later on, I went to work on the railroad. Pick and shovel. I was a Gandhi dancer. That's what we were known. Gandhi dancers. I think it was named after a company by the name of Gandhi that supplied the railroads with equipment.
Oh, okay.
I worked for the New York Central Railroad. My father, my brothers, in some capacity, all worked for the New York Central. And who would dream that at one day the New York Central would evaporate into the air? Never. I always thought my father had a civil service job. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning in the winter, he would be called out to go to work, and that they couldn't get along without him. That was his lifeblood. Sometimes he worked 7 days a week for 27 straight years without a day off.
Wow.
No holidays. I used to bring his lunch to the railroad.
Wow, that was nice of you. And you joined the Civilian Conservation Corps.
I joined the Civilian Conservation Corps in October 1934, and I was very, very fortunate to be land in the middle of Miami, Florida. From there, we worked on a place known as Grinnell State Park. I don't know if they changed the name. It was on the Dixie Highway. But our barracks were the former training quarters for Jack Sharkey when he fought Max Schmeling for the World Championship. And behind our place was a Medicine Square Garden of Miami. It was the best years of my life. I was 18 years old. I was in good health, and I loved every moment. There was heaven on earth for me. And then in 1936, there was no work, so I re-enlisted in the Civilian Conservation Corps, and I wound up in Monterey, New York. It might as well have been in Timbuktu. It was desolate, and it was about 110 miles from Rochester. I had been in areas where no white man had ever been while I was in the survey crew. There were corner marks from the late 1700s, hash marks on trees. We were buying the land for the state of New York.
Wow. It's a pretty amazing story. I never heard about that.
Yeah.
Never told me that. Okay. And what did you do when the war came around?
Well, before the war came on, I knew that in 1939, when war broke out in Europe, that it was just a matter of time before we would be dragged in as we were in World War I. So in January 41, I enlisted in the Navy, and I was promised I'd go to Noroton, Connecticut to radio school. But much to my chagrin, I wound up in July at Newport, Rhode Island for boot camp. Prior to that, I modeled clothes for Fashion Park during the early part of 41 to the Middle West. And just as soon as I came home, I received notice to report to Newport, Rhode Island. I was very, very disappointed. After I went to Newport, Rhode Island, I was there. I had an ulcer. That's it.
Okay.
I had an ulcer. Unbeknownst to me or to them, they didn't know what was wrong with me. But after spending 3 months in Newport, I still had a good time visiting all the mansions of the Astors and Vanderbilts. And I was finally released in October of 34 of 41. And lo and behold, in December, Pearl Harbor was bombed.
And
That was it.
And during the war, what were your duties?
And during the war, I went to Bausch and Lomb and worked on rangefinders for the Navy. And after the war, at the end of the war in 45, I was discharged from Bausch and Lomb, as 50% of their employees were not needed anymore because radar had come forth. And I was on unemployment, military unemployment, until I was sent to East Kodak office for a position, and if I didn't take that position, I would lose my unemployment insurance, as it were. And like the man who came to dinner, I stayed there for 35 years.
Wow. Okay.
He's missing when he met me. He didn't get me in his explanation of his past.
Okay, so Granny, we'll have you explain that one.
Mm-hmm.
When did you meet Poppy?
It was about 1939. He had substituted at his picnic that my aunt and her friends had, and it rained that day, and he came home. They came home, and they were at my mother's house, and I came home from a movie. I was drenched. I was caught in the rain.
And she looked like a peeled chicken.
And one day I was walking along Child Street with my friends, and he came along and tooted the horn, and I recognized who he was, and I went in the car with him, and then we started to date.
Oh, okay.
And we were engaged in June of 1942.
Now hold on 1 second.
And married.
Granny? 1 second. Describe for everyone watching what sort of dates you would go on. What things did you enjoy doing back then?
Pardon me?
What activities did people enjoy?
Well, we went to nightclubs. That's all. There wasn't much to do. The radios had just starting to come in. There was no TV. We didn't have a lot of money. I had a jalopy, a 1931 Ford that leaked, and when it rained, the back seat would get wet.
I have Grandma Shirley's old 2000 Alero, and it still leaks. Decades of time to perfect the technology, it still requires maintenance.
But that little puddle jumper.
Hello.
Hey.
Good afternoon.
Joining
Hi.
us.
We're the movies.
Hi,
We're the
Granny.
movies. Hi. Where are you?
Hi, this is my friend Megan. Megan Dunham.
Okay,
That's
Nate.
her name. And these are my grandparents. That's
It's
Granny.
not her fault.
And you guys are being recorded.
Why?
This is for posterity.
Wait, we're not being recorded.
Yes.
Yeah, it's rolling right now.
But I'm not in the shot.
Yeah, but they can hear you. Yes, in case you
Well,
haven't
we're at the
figured
end
it out,
anyway. We're at
Lauren
the end.
and her friend Meg just walked in. Lauren, just for people's reference, how old are you right now?
18.
18. And you just graduated, huh?
Never
I
been missed.
did.
Working on the race crew for the Rochester Yacht Club?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Great.
Yep. Okay, so, alright, you're describing what you did when you were dating. When,
Get Megan in the picture.
Okay, Meg, you can
Come on, get in the bag.
real quick
Come on.
show your face on camera so everyone can see how
Yay.
beautiful
Megan
you are.
and Lauren just broke in, so we're going to put them in a picture.
And there's another.
I look really bad.
Love you, honey.
I love you too.
Oh yes, and there's one more girl who just walked in.
My beagle.
Honey bunch. Hey, honey, the pickle.
Honey the Beagle doesn't want to stay on camera much longer, does she?
Ah,
She's so
Cutie.
Put her down. Okay. Now, when here's an interesting question. When was the first time you kissed?
when?
How had you been dating long?
No, I was not slow or bashful. Your grandmother was, though.
Well, the girl tends
You're
to
the
be,
first
even
one
now.
that ever kissed me.
Really?
Aww.
Yeah.
Granny, was that the same for you?
No, same for me. It wasn't the same for me.
Granny was a man lady.
Your grandmother.
So Granny was the bashful one, but
Oh,
she
yeah.
had kissed other guys prior.
No, she said no. Other than she lied. She said, you're the first one that kissed me.
Aw.
Can you imagine that?
Granny, how many men have you dated?
How many years?
Just
How many men?
How many men?
Smoothie.
A lot.
Oh,
Poppy doesn't sound too happy.
She dated about 3 or 4
Okay, I mean that's pretty normal.
that she told me.
Lauren, how many guys have you dated?
I don't know.
I don't think numbers go that high.
None of your business, and that's the truth.
I can say this past year I've dated 3 girls. It didn't last too long, but
I've dated people, but I don't get into exclusive relationships.
all done?
okay, we can take a break now.
Fini.
I'll
Bye.
take a break.
F-I-N-I-C-S.
All right.
Fini.